What's up YouTube, it's your boy Rhett back at it again with another video. IRAs, or individual retirement accounts, are investment retirement accounts that allow you to legally pay $0 in capital gains taxes. Huge investors like Peter Thiel have historically been able to use IRA retirement accounts to rack up giant investments in private companies and then legally pay no capital gains taxes on those massive investments. Pretty sweet, right? And obviously, as you know if you've been following this channel, I'm a huge long-term believer in Bitcoin. So today we're going to be comparing all of the major crypto IRA options in the market, and I'm going to be letting you guys know what I'm personally doing. Like every other video on this channel, none of this is financial advice. These are just my opinions, and there is risk in investing in any asset. That being said, I will have links to all my sources down in the description so that you guys can first of all read up on what I'm saying and where I'm coming from, and then second of all, come to your own conclusions and decide what's right for you and your risk tolerance. So go down below and smash the like button for tax-free Bitcoin, and let's level up your brain. All right, guys, I'm back here with the iPad, and I've got a table of the major crypto IRA options and a few alternatives like Grayscale and Michael Saylor up there in the top right. So on the left-hand side of this little table that I've built here, I've got the aspects of a crypto IRA that are important to me. And what's most important to me is the fees that I'm going to pay that are associated with using this crypto IRA. And so you can see there's a row for startup fees here, there's a row for annual fees, there's a row for trading fees, there's a row here for deposits and how easy it is to make a deposit and what little criteria and conditions come along with making a deposit. There's a row here for custody, and then there's a row here for other to talk about sort of how is this individual option maybe different from all the other options in maybe a really good way or a really bad way. First up here, we're going to do Unchained Capital, and we're going to start with startup fee. Unchained Capital's Bitcoin IRA has a $995 startup fee. It has a $250 annual fee starting in year 2. They have a 0.5% trading fee. They do have a $6,000 deposit minimum, and $6,000 is also currently here in 2022 the maximum amount per year that you can contribute to an IRA. So they're asking you to contribute your entire yearly IRA contribution to their platform if you do want to use it. As for custody, obviously you're using Unchained Capital, so you're getting their multi-sig solution. And if you're unsure of what a multi-sig is, I'll leave a link up in the cards. I did a video about a year ago comparing Unchained Capital to Casa, the other really big multi-sig provider platform. And then as for anything else, Unchained Capital is Bitcoin only. You're not going to be able to purchase Ethereum or Litecoin or Poop Swap or Farm Token or any of these other crazy things. You're just getting into Unchained Capital for Bitcoin. If you're not familiar with the second option up here, it's called Choice from Kingdom Trust. Kingdom Trust's startup fee is $500. Their annual fee is $125 plus $120 for Casa Gold, and we'll get to that here in a second, what that means. Their trading fee is 1%. The minimum cash balance that you need to maintain in your Choice account was $500. I didn't see a minimum for the incoming deposit, so I'm just going to leave this at $500 for now, and we'll know that that is the total account value. As for custody, Choice gives you 3 different options. I'm going to single out the option that I think is best, which is the self-custody Casa option. So they've partnered with Casa, another multi-sig provider, to give you access to a very secure self-custody multi-sig solution. And then there is a 1% annual fee on funds not moved to Casa. And so this is important. In the Choice app, you can go buy other assets like Ethereum and Cardano and Doggy Doodoo coin. But as far as I'm aware, Bitcoin is the only cryptocurrency that Casa works with. And so if you used this fee schedule for Choice, you're going to be paying a 1% annual fee on all those altcoins that you're holding within Choice. And so this is, we'll put in parentheses here, all alts. So next, let's talk about iTrustCapital. At iTrustCapital, there's a $0 startup fee and a $0 annual fee. There's also a 1% trading fee, which keeps it in line with Choice from Kingdom Trust here. There is a $2,500 minimum to open account. And it's important that we don't confuse minimum to open account with deposit over here. This Unchained Capital is really every deposit you make. This is sort of a red flag over here. If you use this, you can't really use any other IRA for any other option because $6,000 as the recording of this video at least, is the yearly cap for funds that you can put into an IRA. As for custody, iTrustCapital is actually holding all of your funds in Coinbase custody plus Fireblocks. And then at iTrustCapital, there is no way for you to self-custody your own coins. You always have to give the keys to your coins to Coinbase custody and Fireblocks. As for other features that make iTrustCapital a little different, they also allow you to buy gold. So if you were interested in gold, you could go there for gold. They have lots of crypto options. They're looking into launching staking on the platform. And then also something that you might have noticed if you've been watching a lot of Crypto IRA videos here on YouTube, they have a strong affiliate presence. If you look at Crypto IRA reviewers here on YouTube, a lot of them are sponsored by iTrustCapital because of iTrustCapital's referral and affiliate program. And that's actually how I found out about iTrustCapital in the first place. They actually reached out to me via email and were wondering if I wanted to be part of their affiliate program. It seems like a very, very good deal for influencers because they are paying you for just signing people up to the platform. I don't think that I would put my funds in iTrustCapital just because I personally don't like the fact that I can't custody my own coins. For me, I don't really like that, but a lot of other people, this might not be a red flag for them. This is maybe like a yellow flag for some people. And maybe there's an argument to be made that Coinbase custody and Fireblocks are better at custodying my Bitcoin than I am. Totally possible, open to that argument. But I personally am just not comfortable giving my keys to someone else when I think the entire point of Bitcoin, at least, is sort of the self-sovereignty of it and the optionality that you get by holding this bearer asset. So as the recording of this video, I'm not sponsored or affiliated with iTrustCapital in any way. And I felt that that was important to say because one of the big aspects of iTrustCapital is that really strong affiliate program. And it's my personal opinion that that affiliate program can maybe stop people from speaking very honestly about these other options and considering the pros and cons of these alternatives. If I ever did take an affiliate deal with iTrustCapital in the future, I would obviously let all of you guys know. But if they're not going to offer self-custody, I think that that doesn't really align with my values and the values of a lot of the people that watch these videos. However, if the custody thing is not a deal breaker for you, the $0 startup fees and the $0 annual fees are incredible features, especially when you compare it to the two platforms that we just covered that have massive fees in both of those categories. Next, let's go ahead and talk about Bitcoin IRA. So it was very, very difficult for me to find any information about Bitcoin IRA, even on their own website and other websites that have done reviews of Bitcoin IRA, but they are such a big player in the space that I wanted to put them on this list. So all I could find about the startup and the annual fee are that it depends on your investment. And so I assume what this means is the more money you're depositing, the less the fee is going to be, but I have no idea. I even did reach out to support on their website asking those questions, and they told me to basically go down the sales funnel to figure out what the fee was going to be. And that wasn't something that I was really willing to invest my time into. I did find a website that claimed that Bitcoin IRA's trading fees were 0%, but that same website also is upset about how high the fees with Bitcoin IRA are. And so that leads me to assume that these startup and annual fees are very high. As for a deposit, couldn't find that information either. So another big question mark. As for custody, they are custodying with BitGo. And so this is another situation where you don't have control over your keys. As for other features of Bitcoin IRA, not very transparent. This for me is a big red flag because it's like, what do you have to hide by just posting this information on your website? And so in my mind, it's like, if you're going to use a custodial IRA solution, why am I going to go through all the work to try to figure out what the information with Bitcoin IRA is when I already have iTrustCapital here and they've been incredibly transparent with their entire stack of information, including this affiliate program that's just publicly available information. This is the first one on this list that I just can't recommend based on the lack of total transparency that I find completely ridiculous. The next option is a self-directed IRA. And basically a self-directed IRA is you setting up a legal structure in either a self-directed IRA or a self-directed IRA LLC to, instead of going to iTrustCapital or instead of going to Choice or instead of going to Unchained Capital, you're setting this up by yourself with a lawyer. So this is basically like you plus lawyer. I'm gonna flash a graphic up on the screen. This is like the self-directed IRA, workflow. And it's super complicated. But this is the way to get most directly to the source, but there is no like static information for this. This is going to depend on wherever you go to set up your self-directed IRA. Two places that I've heard of that do this are Safeguard Advisors and the IRA Financial Group that you might have seen here on YouTube. I'll post relevant links down in the description, but for this column, I'm going to be using the Safeguard Advisors numbers that I found through actually a subscriber of this channel that reached out to me to talk about this, because he had recently set this up and there are some really cool advantages to doing this for yourself. The startup fee here was $1,300, so that's really high compared to all of the other options that we've seen so far. And his annual fee here was $150. So again, really high. So the benefits to doing this have to be really good if that's the price that you're going to be paying up front. As for his trading fee, this is where it gets really interesting. He's able to use any exchange on the market to make these trades because he's not bound to one of these other platforms. So what he was able to do is actually go use the Gemini API to get those 0.1% trading fees and free transfers into his, any custody solution wallet, right? He could leave his Bitcoin on Gemini if he didn't want to deal with self-custody. I think that would be a little ridiculous to do that if you were going to go through all this work, but you could. But you could also put your Bitcoin into a multi-sig, or you could put it onto a phone wallet, or you could put it on your own Umbrel node. You could do any number of things with this, just as long as you're staying within the legal boundaries of the self-directed IRA. So the real benefit to this is just the flexibility that you're getting from any custody solution, any trading fee option. You can use the Gemini API to automate trades within your IRA. And then as for deposit amount, you can, any, right? I think this guy probably just deposits money into his Gemini exchange account. So massive flexibility, but expensive and complicated. If you really know what you're doing, this is an excellent option because again, the flexibility that you get with the trading fee and the deposits and the custody are incredible. But then obviously the startup fee kind of sucks. And then the annual fee, not great, but still better than Unchained Capital and Choice. So everything we've talked about so far is basically a self-directed IRA. All of these are self-directed IRAs, but in the first four examples, you're doing your self-directed IRA through one of these other companies. And in this fifth example, you're doing it by yourself. The good parts of the self-directed IRA are that you're getting to hold physical Bitcoin. The bad parts of the self-directed IRA is that there's not great regulatory clarity about how like the SEC and the government feels about self-directed IRAs. And so especially if you're doing this yourself, there can be lots of complexity, and maybe some of that complexity gets taken away by these platforms that are working on your behalf, but it's not as like straight shooting as just having an IRA account open with Charles Schwab or Fidelity or one of these other traditional brokerages. And so that's what we're going to get into next here with Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, or GBTC, a fund that holds a bunch of Bitcoin that you've probably heard of before. So obviously the fee to just start trading the ticker GBTC in your existing normal IRA account is going to be $0. Anyone can just go do that. The annual fee for holding the GBTC fund is going to be 2%. So that's pretty high, and it's going to get really, really high if you start to pile more and more and more money into GBTC. The trading fee should be $0 or whatever the spread is on GBTC. As for deposits, you can put any amount of money into the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. As for custody, Grayscale is custodying it for you. So again, not your keys, not your coins. And so now for other, and this could really be an entire video in and of itself, just because Grayscale is a really hot topic and I think a lot of people don't understand what they're buying when they go to buy GBTC, is that GBTC is not actually Bitcoin. GBTC is a fund that owns Bitcoin. And so when you buy GBTC, if Bitcoin goes up 5% after you buy GBTC, GBTC might only go up 2%, or GBTC could go down 3%. Its price in the long term should theoretically be equal to the amount of Bitcoin that it's holding, but there's no guarantee that that's the case. So not Bitcoin. My handwriting is horrible. Positives here: startup fee, nothing; trading fee, nothing; deposit, anything, and you're getting to use your own brokerage. Downsides: not your keys, not your coins; 2% annual fee, which is really high, and you're not actually buying Bitcoin. You're buying a security, basically, that should theoretically in the long term track the price of the Bitcoin they're holding, but there's no guarantee that that's going to happen. And that feature can be good or bad depending on what your view is of like the regulatory situation in America. If a Bitcoin spot ETF gets approved and GBTC is allowed to convert to a spot ETF, you're instantly going to gain whatever that difference is between the current trading value of GBTC and the amount of Bitcoin they're actually holding. So this is sort of like US regulatory speculation, which I personally am engaging in. So I'm not going to say like, you know, you're an idiot if you do this, but you're kind of an idiot if you do this, right? Like I have no control over what the US SEC is going to do. And so again, none of this is financial advice. Do not do what I'm doing, but just know that it is an option out there. And if you don't want to go open a self-directed IRA with one of these other products, GBTC is going to be really one of the only options that you have if you want to stick to a traditional brokerage. Finally, up here, we have Michael Saylor, and it's not actually Michael Saylor. It's going to be any BTC stock. So to invest in a company that's heavily invested in Bitcoin or that should theoretically go up if the price of Bitcoin goes up, there is no fee to invest in those things. If I go buy MicroStrategy stock, or if I go buy Square stock, or if I go buy a Bitcoin mining company stock, there's no fee associated with buying those companies. And for the most part, there's no annual fee associated with buying those companies either. And again, for the most part, depending on what platform you're on, there's no trading fee associated with buying those companies, and you can buy really any amount of any of those companies. But then when you get down to the bottom here, custody is going to be whatever that company is doing. And so you have no idea what that company is doing, right? You'd have to look in case by case to see how these companies are custodying their Bitcoin. And so then finally at the end here, you're not buying Bitcoin, you're buying an equity. And so it's not going to trade in the same way as Bitcoin. And you're also taking equity risk. Bitcoin could go up, but MicroStrategy could go out of business. And then they'd have to sell all their Bitcoin onto the open market. And that would probably drive the price of Bitcoin down, but they're not one-to-one, right? You have to believe a little bit in the company that you're dealing with, that they're going to be around and that they're going to continue their Bitcoin strategy and that they're going to continue to trade with the price of Bitcoin, which is something that you just can't know. You can't know that. So really the upside to GBTC and these Bitcoin stocks is that they're free to trade and you can invest any amount of money you want and there aren't really any fees, but you're not buying Bitcoin and you're taking equity or execution risk in those companies. So ultimately, this decision really comes down to what do you want? If you just want price exposure to Bitcoin, Grayscale and Bitcoin stocks are going to be great because they have no fees, right? Fees are very low and you can invest any amount of money. You don't have to deal with this crazy different self-directed IRA product. But if what you want is to hold physical Bitcoin, it depends now how complicated you want to get. If you want to get really complicated, you get a lot of freedom by setting up your own self-directed IRA, but that comes with some complications and, you know, the expensive startup fee that eventually over time you probably pay less because your trading fee is so much lower than these other platforms, but maybe that complexity is too much for you to handle and you don't want to deal with the headache. Then the next question you need to ask yourself is, do you care about custodying your Bitcoin? If you don't care about custodying your Bitcoin, maybe iTrustCapital is the move because their startup fees and their annual fees are much lower than choice at Kingdom Trust's CASA feature and then Unchained Capital and then even your own self-directed IRA, right? iTrustCapital is really the best solution if you don't care about custody and you still want to open a self-directed IRA. And then over here, the choice between Kingdom Trust Choice and Unchained Capital is really, do you think you'll have your Unchained Capital account open long enough to like make back the money, the extra money that you're paying every year with these lower trading fees? So like if you're trading all the time, maybe Unchained Capital makes sense. But I think in my personal opinion, this having to deposit $6,000 every time, that's like a big nightmare. And so if I was going to choose one of these two options, I would probably choose Choice by Kingdom Trust because I do care about multi-sig and I do care about self-custody and I'm also already paying for CASA. And I'm not going to get hit by this 1% annual fee on alts because I'm not buying alts. Personally, as of the filming of this video, I'm actually not involved in crypto IRAs at all. I hopped into the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust last year as the discount to NAV was starting to grow deeper and deeper. And now I'm in a situation where I'm really hoping, obviously, that the whole GBTC Bitcoin spot ETF situation works out. If you guys are not familiar with GBTC and how it's different from a Bitcoin spot ETF and all of the quirks and historical historical advantages and disadvantages that have come with GBTC, go ahead and leave a comment down below and I'll work on a standalone video to cover that topic because I think that is a really deep topic that deserves its own full video. So like I said earlier, none of this is financial advice. Don't make any trades based on what I'm saying. I could lose all my money and this whole GBTC Bitcoin spot ETF situation could never work out in my favor. But that's a calculated risk that I personally am willing to take. If you guys learned something from this video or you found that comparison helpful, go down below and smash the like button so that YouTube shares this video around to other people who are looking for the best crypto IRA option. And then for your IRA, are you more of a traditional investor or have you jumped into any of these crypto IRA alternatives? I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to say, so definitely go down below and leave a comment with what your personal strategy is. And then subscribe and hit the notification bell for new videos every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern. I love you all. Goodbye.